Well, we have two amendments before us, and I will deal with the Green amendment first. Now, it probably won't be of any surprise to you here that I'm not going to support the Green motion.
Oh, sure.
But I do see in this actually something new, and I think is actually something good, and maybe one of the best things I've heard from the Green Group in my 4 years here is their new policy on toilets and on funding toilets in the underground and making them free. And I think we'd all agree with that, because we all need to use them at some point. So they do make a lot of sense there. But the thing which I think is most egregious about this is that the first point, which is on funding warmer homes, I mean, that sounds good, but the money that they suggest would only be able to be used for 500 homes, which is a tiny amount compared to the number of homes in London, and probably wouldn't do much at all in terms of energy efficiency. But it is a Trojan horse for what they call the Green New Deal. Now, the Green New Deal is a Marxist-Leninist nightmare, which would bring a planned economy to London and the United Kingdom. And that's certainly nothing that I think that anybody who loves freedom and who appreciates the freedom and the prosperity that the free market capitalism brings to this country would ever support. So for that reason and that reason alone, I certainly can't support the Green amendment. Now, let me take the Conservative group's budget amendments. Now, there are lots and lots of very, very good things in here, and I do wholeheartedly support the general thrust of the agreement, of the amendment, which is to cut the waste and the fat off of Sadiq Khan's budget and use the money to support extra policing. The difference between the Conservative group and myself, however, is I would go further. And I would have even more cuts to what the mayor's doing and have more money for the police. The Conservatives suggest 1,500 extra police, given the specific cuts that they've mentioned, which are things that the mayor's spending that we don't need. But I would also look at the mayor's £168 million a year budget for building and constructing cycle superhighways. Now, we could cut £100 million off of that, leaving £68 million for him to build some cycle lanes for the Lycra lobby, which he wants to appease, and we would have £100 million for an extra 1,500 police. So if I were to introduce a budget amendment, I would not just go as far as the Conservative group, I would double what they have done and give money for 3,000 extra police, which we need to keep London's streets safe. However, that being said, there are a couple of things which this amendment suggests cutting, which I think really are things that shouldn't be cut. And from sitting on the Transport Committee, year after year, the Conservative budget amendment suggests cutting the funding to Travel Watch from £1 million down to £100,000. Now, from sitting on the Transport Committee, I do know that that is a statutory obligation of the Assembly to fund and to provide. And I don't think that that's something that I can support cutting funding for. As inflation has increased, I actually think the small budget that Travel Watch gets should be increased, actually, from 1 million to 1.2 million. So, sadly, I can't fully support this amendment, but there's a lot of very, very good things in here, and the sentiments are very good. It's going very much in the right direction. So I would abstain on this motion, and hopefully you can take some of my comments into account and make your amendment even better for when we do the final debate. Thank you.